Hey everybody, and welcome to Libromancy, the podcast about the magic of books. Today I'm going to be talking about Dread Pirate Arcanist by Shami Stovall. So let's bond with it. Yes, I know that I said her name wrong last episode. I said Shomi Stovall, and then I looked at the covers after I posted it and I realized, hey, that says Shami Stovall. You messed up. So here I am apologizing for that. Sorry, that was my bad. Let's just talk very briefly about the overview of this book. Again, I liked it. These are short, fast-paced books. Sometimes the events of the book take a little longer, but you never feel as if the book is going slow. It's always from one adventure right to the next. I loved it. I love that we learn a lot more about magical beasts and the bonds between arcanists. I love that we get to see more of all of the apprentices together. We get to see a little bit more of each of their personalities really coming out and starting to mature and develop. No viewpoints from them, that's fine. That's just normal. Just like the last book, the bingo squares for this one are going to be optimistic and magical pet. Those are the ones that really fit the best. I don't think you could really push any of the other ones too well. So now that we've kind of talked about the non-spoilery part and the book bingo part, let's just get into spoilers. Let's start with just a brief kind of rundown of what happens, and then I want to talk about a bunch of stuff that I liked, I didn't like. So first, they are on a mission to rescue a griffin that has been found. They find the griffin. He's been affected by the plague. Volk has to kill him. Awkwardness ensues. That's how it goes. Then they leave. They go back to their main island. They visit Gilly, who is a magical researcher, trying to find a cure to the plague. Then after that, Ilya leaves, goes to Cape Town, Pirate Town, decides to try and stop Callisto, the pirate who attacked her, from doing any more damage. Obviously, Volk goes after her after he realizes that she's left, and Zelfrey, their teacher, catches up with them almost immediately, at least with Volk, and then they have to try and catch up to Ilya. Ilya tries to sell Callisto a pirate book that he really wants. Something about a compass. Obviously, she tries to poison him, no effect, and they all have to run. They flee into the forest. Zelfrey tries to slow them down, and then, Zelfrey's captured. The apprentices, of course, decide to go back and rescue Zelfrey because that's what they do. Being good apprentices, they don't want him to die, so they go around, they rescue Zelfrey, and then they're fleeing the ship, which is incredibly tough to flee, of course. They have a small ship, and he has a big pirate ship that he's been preparing for just such an occasion. Then they have to fight. Callisto and his mana core are basically unstoppable. Luckily, Zelfrey gets a little trick in, captures him, but not captures him enough to keep him contained forever. And then they leave. And they leave him there. Obviously, he's going to get free and become a problem in later books. I am unsure if we're going to see him again soon or if it's going to be a while. But that's just a basic overview. Then I'd like to go into, more of everything. Let's start just back at the beginning, of course. Volk and Zaxxas have to search. They find the griffin. The griffin was shot by the pirates and purposely infected with the plague, providing a win-win for the pirates. Either the griffin goes crazy and kills a bunch of people, or they have to kill the griffin, and then the griffins are weaker because there's less griffins around to do that. You learn a lot more about Zaxxas in this, that he feels he's being ignored, that he feels his talents aren't as good as Addie's, whoever became the other Phoenix Arcanist with him. And we learn in the awkward hot spring, of course, because we had to have that scene, that Zelfrey has been avoiding Zaxxas because Zaxxas reminds Zelfrey of his former apprentice that he had a relationship with and died. And, I did not call Zelfrey being gay, but whatever, that's just, I didn't see it coming, and there it is, it was there, so it was fine. After that, Zelfrey leaves the hot spring, and of course, who walks up but Addie walks into the hot spring, and then Volk bails quick. That was pretty funny. Of course, I love that in this book with Addie, we learned that, she was never really allowed to have friends on the island that they lived on, and so what she really wants is just to be friends, to have friends. I think she's not really looking to Volk for romantic interests, at least not yet. I like it that way better. That's me personally. You might think differently, but, let me know if you do. We also learned that Addie can't heal at all. She has immense control over fire, and she's very powerful with her fire, but she can't heal. Whereas Zaxxas has a little bit less firepower but he actually can heal. That's something that's been bothering him. He's trying to work up to her level, and he just can't catch up to her. But in that other one area, he can, and he is. So that was good. I really liked the more we learn about them. Of course, visiting Gilly, we learn about imbuing, the researcher, Gilly, the researcher, and we learn about imbuing, which is great. Imbuing is pretty cool. Creation of magical artifacts. You pour magic into an artifact, you use a star piece as like the glue to keep it there forever, and you put a lot of effort into it, and it works. And that's, simple but tough. And I really liked the explanation that she showed him. Of course, at this time, Ilya has asked Volk to create a distraction so she can steal something. And I love that his distraction goes horribly, horribly wrong. And that not only does he knock over one bookshelf, but all the bookshelves and all the glass instruments and breaks a ton of them. And that was so funny. Now, what did Ilya steal but King Basilisk Venom, which I could only assume was incredibly dangerous until she told me that it was. And I'm not going to lie, my honest thought was that she was going to get touched by the King Basilisk Venom, and then she was going to die. That's where I went. I thought it would be near the end of the book when she finally got to meet with Callisto, and this happened. I was wrong again. Yes, I freely admit it, I was wrong. Ilya, having been spurned by Volk because he says, maybe we shouldn't go after the Master Arcanist with years of pirateering experience, and us as mere apprentices having weeks, nay months under our belt of practical experience should not attack him and try and kill him. And so she leaves, of course, grabs Zaxis and Hexa, leaves in the middle of the night, and as soon as Volk wakes up the next day and realizes what's going on, decides to go after her, of course, because he does love her. He just won't admit it, and he's very naive about it, but we can see it and we know what's going on, so just be happy with that, right? So, of course, Frith catches them. They get there, like we said earlier. Ilya's trying to sell Callisto, who is the pirate that had Pirate kept a book about directions to a compass. She throws the poison, which has no effect because he just killed a unicorn and imbued it into a magical artifact which protects him against all poison, including King Basilisk's poison. So, yeah, kind of a bummer there. Obviously the deal goes bad. Now, I want to skip a little bit. They fight, they flee, they fight a little bit more, and when they are rescuing Zelfrey, or trying to rescue Zelfrey, they get on Callisto's pirate ship, and they meet a gargoyle, a huge gargoyle, who's in a cage, and he has the plague, and they talk to him, and he's like, hey, if you don't let me out, you're going to regret this, and you're not going to like what happens next. Now, they don't let him out, but he does reveal that there are two different kind of forms. There is a true form, which we've been led to believe you can accomplish by embodying the ideals of your Eldrin or your magical creature. So, leader of the Frith Guild has Atlas Turtle as her companion. Her ideals are protection, growth. So by being held to these ideals as a person, as an arcanist, she is able to unlock the true form of her Atlas Turtle, which makes it grow bigger and stronger. So that's the true form, which is the embodiment. That's the goal everyone strives for. And then the plague does not the true form. The plague leads to the dread form, which, it sounds scary, and that's kind of what it's supposed to sound. It's the creature's most dreadful form. Now, it doesn't sound like it's any weaker after you get to the dread form, but you have to actually get all the way in. It's very tough. And, usually you die of the plague or go crazy first before you can reach that. So, yeah. Oh, I also loved when they're on the ship, they are talking to Callisto because, of course, they've been found out. And Ilya is like, hey, I'm not going to stand for this. You have to listen to me and, deal with me. And she teleports cannons up in the air and then drops them on the ship. What a great use of teleportation powers. Obviously, it's not enough to, sink the ship, but it's definitely enough to get out of there and to save their lives. Now, at this point, I thought the gargoyle would come back, maybe in the next book, that he would show up and cause some havoc, because he does get free while she's dropping cannons everywhere. They are eventually able to flee and get onto a much smaller ship and sail away as fast as they can. Now, of course, they can't actually sail very far or very fast because they are not in a true boat. They're just in a little smaller boat to get away as fast as they can. So they crash land on an island and they try to hide out. Of course, Callisto comes right after them. He's not dumb. He's following them the whole time. Oh, the fight between Callisto and the gargoyle, though, because this is the gargoyle makes his return, it was impressive. The power of the gargoyle, that he is heads and shoulders above the apprentices in our story, and Callisto just makes short work of him, just demolishes this gargoyle, cuts his arms off, and just has power. Then we learn that Callisto has the true form of the Manticore, his bonded magical creature. Manticore is very creepy and very disturbing. He kept asking to take his mask off, which just was like, I don't really want to see that. But when it happened, it was well written, very scary. So that was impressive. I love that Volk, of course, has to use his abilities to imbue to create a magical artifact to deny Callisto what he wants. And so, as you know, in the book, Callisto has found a world serpent scale. He is trying to find more world serpents to gain their power. And so Volk takes the world serpent scale and turns it into a shield, which I thought was really excellent because it truly identifies Volk as more of a protector rather than just a killer or a fighter. His nightmare, Luther, already has a sword, and the shield is the perfect counterbalance, of course, to a knight. Obviously, that makes a lot of sense, but the reasons behind it for Volk felt very real and not just, oh, well, you're a shield, you have a sword, you need a shield, let's do that for you. It was very based on Volk's feelings of not actually wanting to kill people, but being forced to do it sometimes and knowing that that's okay. But the shield is really the definition of kind of who he is. He wants to protect and help and be a shield to other people who can't be a shield themselves. One time when this is really showed that Volk is more of a protector is after he fights the Wendigo and his Arcanist for the third or fourth time, and he finally gets a resounding victory over him. He doesn't go for the kill, even though this Wendigo and his Arcanist have tried to kill him multiple times, but he sees the person behind the person who's been trying to kill him, just that he was forced into a bad decision, that he never really wanted it, and he doesn't want to kill him, of course, and so he sends him away. He says, hey, I know this magical researcher, she's studying the plague, trying to cure it. I know that as a Wendigo, you have immunity to the plague and to other diseases. Go study with her. She'd love to have you. That would be something useful and productive you could do. The Wendigo, the Arcanist and his Wendigo take that deal and leave, hopefully to go there. We don't know exactly, but that really just goes to show his character and his resolve that he doesn't need to kill. He is not going to. But we've seen and we see again that he is not unwilling to make that decision, just doesn't want to. I'm talking about Wendigos being to disease. All, apparently, human-eating magical creatures are immune to disease and therefore immune to the magical plague. How unfair is that? But at least they can't grow stronger by giving themselves the plague, so kind of a benefit for us, kind of not. So let's talk about magical creatures and their bonds. Man, there are some horrible bonds that you have to perform to be an Arcanist for some creatures, especially the people eater ones, such as the Kappa, which, water creature. But to give up, you have to be a woman and give up your child to be eaten by a Kappa, and then you can get the bond. Just cruel and unusual and horrible. Or the Wendigo, where you have to give up part of your body to be eaten by it in order to bond it. Man, that is a tough decision that these people have made, and a horrible decision for the most part. You know what? Not for the most part. For all of it. I say that it is a truly horrible and despicable position to bond with at least a Kappa. Potentially not the Wendigo, because eating somebody is just kind of normal for them, but forcing a mother to give up her child to be completely eaten and killed by you is completely different and much worse. So that kind of wraps up all the main things that happen in this book, with a lot of other things that of course I just am not touching on but a couple of things that I'd like to talk about still. Ilya and Volk get a little bit closer. Ilya really puts herself out there. I was kind of wondering if she was going to straight up say it, of course, and she didn't. But I think they're getting closer to admitting it, that they love each other. I enjoy it. I like it. I like that Adelgis kept influencing them dreams and giving them good dreams, but they're tainted by his own fears. And we learn that he has a magical creature growing inside of him, that his father put it in as an experiment for him to basically house a magical creature. And how gross and disgusting is that? I feel like we're going to get some resolution on this in the next book. I'm kind of excited to see what happens there. That we learn his father who put it in is not really the loving father that we've thought he was. but that he cares more about his science and his experiments than about his son. Yeah, I think that's going to wrap up everything today for me, talking about Dread Pirate Arcanist by Shami Stovall. I really enjoyed it. I think anybody who enjoyed the first one is also going to enjoy this one. I recommend it. It fit my bingo squares. It's fun, good. So thanks for listening, everybody. Again, thanks to David Hillowitz for an outro music. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to argue with what I said, or you think I'm wrong, just send me an email. Let me know at libromancypod@com. Of course, remember to bond with the magic of books.